Hello and welcome to Drive and Double Feature Podcast. I'm Nathan.
I'm Ryan.
And this is the podcast where we talk about 2 movies a week every Tuesday and Thursday. But before we get into today's movie, I want to talk to you all about our Patreon over at patreon.com/driveindoublefeaturepodcast. We have a bunch of bonus episodes where we do fun things like BuzzFeed quizzes and just talk about newer movies. And all for $5 a month, you can get that content, help support the show. The link is also in the description. But getting into today's movie, it's kind of like returning back to a very old episode. This is Grand Theft Auto.
Vice City, baby.
Yeah, insert the Vice City theme right here. No, this isn't even the 80s. This is the 70s.
San Andreas? Oh.
No. Grand Theft Auto 2, London.
Oh no.
Boring. No, this isn't even tied to that. This is Ron Howard's directorial debut from 1977. We can get a big woohoo for that. Yeah, we got Hillbilly Elegy because of this movie.
Oh, true, I guess. Yeah.
Yeah. But no, this is kind of a pseudo sequel to Eat My Dust. It's kind of the same elements, same themes, big car chases. Well, not kind of down south. It's not even really southern. That's not even a big part of this movie.
It's set in California.
Yeah, okay. So then, because they're on their way to Las Vegas. You're right. But
it's 2 lovers on the run trying to elope from her disapproving father, and almost everyone in the entire state of California is trying to capture them.
Yes, yeah. They are lovers on the run, and they have their supporters, but they also have their haters because they have a $25,000 bounty on their head. Did you happen to notice who edited this movie?
Was it Clint Howard?
Not Clint Howard, even though Clint Howard is in it. It was actually Joe Dante, the director of the Gremlins movies.
That makes sense since he's a Roger Corman guy.
Yeah, exactly. There's actually a lot of weird ties that this movie has.
Well, this is another New World Pictures movie.
Yeah, Roger Corman kind of has a really close tie to this movie because Ron Howard actually asked him hey, I will direct a movie for you and you don't even have to pay me. You don't have to pay me. I just want to direct. And I guess he had a better script, but Roger Corman said, no, I don't want you to make you and your dad get together and make a script that I would make.
Yeah, it was him and his dad had wrote a screenplay called "'Tis the Season," which I'm guessing is some sort of Christmas movie, I guess. But then he was like, "Oh, it's great, but we don't do those types of pictures here. We make garbage. So give me."
Yeah, Corman always knew. He at least knew what he made and what he put out to the people. I think it's so funny that Ron Howard it was just a Corman person, because you look back and I don't even know what Ron Howard's people's opinion on him at the time. I guess just kind of an aged child star in a way.
Well, no, he was this was during the height of Happy Days.
Is it?
This is during Happy Days time. So he's at least on a successful sitcom and he's a star of it.
Then why is he messing around with Corman?
That one, I think they really, the way I understood it, which it was, I think you and I watched the same thing, which was with they interviewed his dad about this movie. Mm-hmm. But the way I understood it is that they really wanted him for Eat My Dust, and it was kind of a trade thing because they're we want a somewhat of a name, and at the time. And Ron Howard, they were "Oh, can you be the star of our movie?" And I guess he was kind of "Okay, well, I can direct it." And they're "Okay, well, you can't direct this one, but you can direct the next one, maybe."
Yeah, and look at him now. He gets to direct the movie, and and Roger Corman seemed really supportive of him. Everybody seemed supportive. I think we watched the same thing where Clint Rance were sitting together talking about making this movie, and of course Clint Howard's in this movie. It's a Ron Howard movie. And so is his dad. His dad is in it as well. And they all work together for it. If there's one thing I can compliment this movie for, is it starts fast. It is not a slow. You don't really get introduced to these characters. It gets running right off the bat, we see Ron Howard, Nancy Morgan, and Nancy Morgan's dad, which the dad is super rich, running for mayor, and then Ron Howard's coming in and is stealing his daughter away. Oh, governor, sorry. He's running for governor, and Ron Howard's come in, and he's going to steal his daughter away from him.
He came in, he's like, no, like you were promised to or what was his name? Collins.
One sec.
Hollingsworth, I believe his name was.
Hollingsworth. Collins Hedgeworth.
Yeah, he's like, you were promised to him. And she's like, what are you talking about? We were never engaged.
And that's like the conversation the rest of the movie, even when Collins like gets brought up, he's like, we were engaged. One of the funniest moments, which is later, but they're on the run and Collins shows up on the side and he doesn't think that they're actually eloping, like that they're actually in love. He's like, okay, he's kidnapped you. Does he have a gun to your back? Is he like, what is he doing to force you into this love?
Well, yeah, and because she gets on like the phone at one point and she gets interviewed by a radio station and she's like, I was never engaged to Collins. And he goes, oh my God, she's been hypnotized too.
Yeah, that's like the comment. Everyone's just like, oh, she's been brainwashed.
She steals she's planning to elope with Ron Howard's character, but her dad's like, oh, nope, I'm taking your car away. And she's like, all right, then I'm going to take your car. And she steals his Rolls Royce.
It steals his Rolls Royce. I guess his keys were left in the ignition. Yeah, you know, as it is, and her dad, like tries to get into a car that has no wheels to drive off and catch her. So silly. I will say, Ron Howard in this movie, I don't understand why any woman would want to leave with this man.
That's going to be like my biggest complaint of the movie is that the chemistry between these two. I'm like, I don't notice any hint of like love or like devotion or anything between these two. So, I mean, for me, it was like, they really should have had a lot more of these like tender moments where it could have shown them like being in love or like, oh, I would do anything for you and type of thing. But no, she's very clearly under a lot of pressure. And then he's just like, sounds so annoyed at everything.
He's really whiny, and like it's weird how they wrote this character because they make him just kind of like a horny teenager in a way. Because like one of the first scenes we get with him is like they're on the run, right? And then he's just like, oh, you want to fool around? Let's pull over and fool around. And I know it was kind of jokingly, but also it just seems a little weird just to be like, yeah, let's fool around a little while we're on our way to get married.
Yeah, and they have a very limited time limit.
Yeah, and she is on a mission to get to Las Vegas. But yeah, when I thought this movie was interesting was not really when it involved their relationship. I don't, like you said, the chemistry wasn't really there. I thought the side characters were where I had the most fun with this movie.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, there's a very rich amount of side characters. There's all kinds of different personalities. Like there's like these gearhead type of guys that work at an auto shop, and then there's these hillbillies, and there's a maniacal preacher.
Yeah, there's also a cop as well that's chasing after them. It kind of reminded me of like It's a mad world, like, you know, just like constantly on the road, constantly in chase. Man, I don't know what it was though. This movie for me, I unfortunately had the same feelings about it as I did Eat My Dust.
Aw, darn.
Yeah, I was not a big fan of it. I thought it was okay. I think what helped it, like I said, was the side characters, but you just could not convince me to care about these two characters.
You didn't care about the cars?
It was all right. Like there were some crashes that were good. I especially love late in the movie we do get a demolition derby, and I do love seeing good demolition derby action. But no, there's just like some bits of this I just lost interest. I don't know what it is. I needed more stuff. Like there's a cop that shows up because what's his name? We just said his name like a million times. Collins Hedgeworth.
Yes.
His mom goes after him,
played by Marion Ross, who was Ron Howard's mom on Happy Days.
wild. I heard that there was a lot of favors called in because there's like a very small cameo by Gary Marshall in this
Yeah.
movie.
Yeah, he's in there.
Yeah, but the mom is beating the crap out of a cop this whole time. There's like this battle between cops, and she just like punches him, runs him over, like does everything, and everyone treats this cop like garbage, and it's really funny.
Yeah, well, she jumps into she wants to go find her son, so she just steals her butler's car, and
Yeah.
and the butler is just like, no way, let somebody, he didn't know it was her in the car. He's like, somebody just stole my car, and he like reports it stolen.
Yeah. And what I love, the cop has the commandeer bus during this, and it's like a senior bus. And the first line this guy drives, he's like, oh, I'm commandeering this bus, and the guy driving the bus is like, piss off, pig.
Yeah, everyone just does not care anything about the police. The police have zero power in this movie.
No, I will. There is one touch I do like. Near the beginning, Collins is chasing after them, and he crashes because of Ron Howard and Nancy Allen. And they actually stop the car, get out, and check to make sure he's alive. I don't know. Remember the last time I saw a movie where somebody actually did that.
I know, and there's a lot more horrific crashes later, and nobody checks on those people.
No, they just needed to set up at first. Yeah, they're okay,
like,
people.
Well, they're like, oh, well, they don't want him to die. They just want to get away.
Yeah, exactly. If he was dead, they probably just be like, all right. I mean, they've committed so many crimes. Grand Theft Auto being one of them. Murder, probably. Vehicular manslaughter. I the list goes on and on. But true love will prevail.
Yeah. But I guess like kind of like the thing connecting it all together, like one of the biggest side characters was the radio DJ Curly Q. and I actually really liked this character. I there was like some genuine funny moments in there where I laughed.
Yeah, and he's really interesting. He's in this movie way more than I would have ever expected.
He's played by Don Steele, who I believe is also a broadcaster.
Oh, gotcha.
And he's called Curly Q in this movie, and Collins calls into him and says, I'm putting out a $25,000 bounty to whoever can get her back from me. And then Collins' mom calls in and says, I'm going to place my own $25,000 bounty to get my son back.
Mm-hmm.
So it's like this one preacher hears it, and he steals a cop car and like runs after.
and that scene's great too, because it's like a preacher preaching to a bunch of old people, and as soon as he hears like, oh, I need to get money, let me hop in my car and go.
Well, yeah, he steals a cop car, and they're like, Father, what are you doing? He's like, $25,000 could buy a lot of Bibles.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. And I think that preacher is played by somebody famous as well. Oh cow.
Oh, he was on the Andy Griffith Show.
That's what it is. Yeah, no, the preacher is on the Andy Griffith Show, and I think I realized this whenever I heard his thick accent. Just a very like noticeable accent.
Yeah, there's a lot. And the guy that plays Collins is like the son of Andy Griffith's manager or something like crazy like that.
Good Lord. Yeah, there's a lot going on in this movie. Ron Howard's got the whole film world, or I guess more like TV world, in on this one. Yeah, no, but the preacher is really fun, especially when he teams up with Collins, because he actually catches Collins, and Collins is to be like, I'll double your money and let's go after her together. Yeah. Because what's funny, if there was one character I thought was funny, I actually liked Collins Hedgeworth a lot, because he is just the typical like rich.
Well, he runs onto a car lot, and he just jumps into the first car he sees, and he's like, I'm going to take this car. And they're like, well, you can't just drive a car off. And he's like, do you know who my family is? And he's like, no, not really. And then
he starts naming off the family tree.
Yeah, and then he's like, all right, well, I'm going to go call my boss. And he just like kicks the guy and steals the car.
Yeah, and once again, the car lot has the keys in the ignition of a car.
Well, yeah, when you go into any car dealership, they all have the car keys in the ignition, so they're easy to drive off the lot.
Oh, yeah, it's like, if you pay me right now, you can just drive this sucker off the lot. That's a good selling point. I like that.
Yeah.
But no, this DJ that you brought up is kind of insane. He follows them throughout the whole movie. Actually, ends up in a helicopter watching over them.
But no, he's got a really loud personality, so he'll come in and he'll like, and he steals like a helicopter, and he's literally like following the movements of everything that this couple's doing. And at one point, they call him up and they're like, "Please, just don't say where we're going, please." And then he's like, "Yeah, no problem. Yeah, I'll do anything." And he hangs up and he just immediately says like where they are. And then Ron Howard is starts flipping him off from the car. He's like, "Oh, what's that? They're waving to thank you to me." It's like, "Hi, how are you doing?"
Like you said, there's a couple of mechanics, one played by Clint Howard, that are kind of on the chase. They steal like a just married truck at some point. No, the married couple are having sex in the back of their truck and they drive off and they fall out of it almost. It's
yeah. Yeah, they couldn't make it to the hotel. They had to stop.
Yeah, luckily they had a built-in shed on the back of their truck, so it was easy to do.
What else do you think the bed of the truck is for?
Transporting goods,
maybe
Nathan. People.
No, Nathan, grow up.
Oh gosh, I need to get a truck. But yeah, you know what's funny is they do call, you said they call him while on the helicopter. I looked away for a second, looked back, and I was like, wait, how is she calling them? There's no cell phones in 1977. There's a car phone in this Rolls Royce, like a full, like handheld, like almost rotary looking phone. I was like, wow, and interesting. I didn't even know they had the car phones at this time.
Yeah, I remember like, well, I don't know about the 70s, but I do know like in the 80s they did have like car phones, but it was like the size of a duffel bag or whatever that you had to keep in your car.
Yeah, that you have to like carry like a suitcase around with you.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, but they are rich, so but no, just this kind of all comes to a head. Everybody's going, oh well, is there any good car stunts or crashes in the in between that you liked?
Well, there's one where a policeman like crashes his, well, I think this is later, but there's one where like a policeman crashes his police car and it's a power line falls.
Oh, and yeah.
Did you notice that like they just did like little they drew like little cartoon sparks for the light for the cable?
Yes, yeah, it looks like just animated electrical sparks. Yeah. One that I really liked is they jump off of like a ramp, and of course the Rolls Royce makes it, but the cop car tries to go over the ramp and like, I sure hope we make it. And then the back of the car just explodes mid-ramp, like just a giant explosion in the middle of the jump. It looked cool, but I don't know if that'll happen.
Probably like the best scene though for cars is the one scene where they're getting chased by the hillbillies in the pickup truck, and they're just throwing like dynamite at them, like they're just throwing these sticks of dynamite trying to explode their car, and a cop car was chasing them, and he throws a stick of dynamite into like a cop car accidentally, and the cop car just explodes.
Yeah, from the inside, which is great. It's crazy to me that these movies are low budget, because I think of like blowing up a bunch of cars, like that, a lot goes into that.
It wouldn't have surprised me if almost all the budget is just car stuff, because one, I mean, I'm pretty sure Ron Howard got a lot of these people to work for free, including himself.
Yeah.
And they even also in the documentary too, it's like his dad wrote it like with him, and his dad's starring in the movie too. And they said catering was done by his mom and Ron Howard's wife.
Well, did you hear? I'm sure you saw the thing where Clint Howard told the story that there was almost a riot day one because the food was so bad. So the second day, they brought in Ron Howard's mom to do all of the catering for the movie.
Yeah, I'm assuming she didn't get a very big paycheck.
No, probably not. I mean, this movie's budget, I have it right here, 602,000, so under $1 million. And I guess this is more for the end, but this movie made $15 million. That's enough to get Ron Howard a career. Like, that is crazy.
I think the next movie he followed up that he directed was Night Shift, I think.
That's what I think so too. Yeah.
Yeah, that one's like a more lighter comedy, but that one was good too, from what I remember.
No, Night Shift's considered a classic, and that's actually, I'm looking, that's 5 years later. I wonder what took him so long. Probably just acting and everything.
Oh no, he actually directed a couple TV movies in between those two.
Gotcha. Well, that's cool. And yeah, and then later on we would go on to get the Da Vinci Code. So
then we got Solo.
Yeah, I'll just name all of his blunders and none of his, because the man's got good movies.
Yeah, he's made A Beautiful Mind. He won Best Director. I mean, he's gotten his due.
Yes, yeah, no, I don't really have anything that much wrong with him.
He got his pat on the back for Hillbilly Elegy. Don't worry.
Oh yeah, I love that movie. And he was in Arrested Development. You can't go wrong with that. But like I said earlier, this all kind of ends up at the demolition derby, and there's a huge wreck, and the crowd's cheering for the lovers. Oh, I skipped over my least favorite scene. The scene where Ron Howard and his future wife fight each other in this movie that's action-packed. It takes a break, and I'm just like, why? I don't care.
Well, I mean, I would have been okay with a break, because when we had the scene like in Smokey and the Bandit, which is also like a real high octane chase movie, there is a break per se where it's him and Sally Field are kind of having these more tender moments. But the thing that made that scene work is, one, those two actually had chemistry.
Yes, a lot
together.
of chemistry.
And two, it actually seemed like they enjoyed their company. Like, that seemed like you know, like, hey, like, you're a nice guy, and or I wouldn't mind spending more time with you, type of thing. But
maybe those characters are a little more developed as well. Like, I knew both of those characters, and I felt like I knew where they were coming from. Here, I don't think either of these characters are too, or maybe just Ron Howard, because even the daughter, I liked her struggle of like, like, I have a rich father and I gotta, I have to defy him, but also I am in love. So there is some depth there.
Yeah, I can at least figure out where she was coming from, where she's just been dealing with her overbearing father, and she's just trying to make this big grand escape. And Ron Howard, though, like, he sounds so whiny, so annoyed. Like, it's like, you made all these decisions, you didn't let me involved at all.
Yeah, or like, it's like, do you actually love me, or is this all because of your dad? And it's like, dude, she's been on the run through another state, and she's ran through, murdered people probably for you, man. Like, just take it.
Yeah, I'm like, she's basically have given up her entire, because her father before all this was like, I'm writing you out of the will if you're going to go through this marriage. And she's like, fine, do it. So she's willing to give up her entire fortune, give up her lap of luxury for Ron Howard. And she's been the one doing the driving this whole time too.
Yeah.
Up until this point.
Yeah.
So if they were going to do a break, I would have liked to have seen something where it was like showing their devotion for one another, or just like, hey, this is really crazy, but I just want to let you know I'm still in this for you because I love you that much, or something along those lines, or it just made them a little more human, where you start rooting for them too, like you want to see it happen. But to me, it's like, it just seems like their relationship is on rocky ground before it even starts, because Ron Howard's kind of like, do you even want to do this anymore?
Yeah, it makes you question their love. And like, the idea I feel like is like, oh, after all this, they're going to stay married forever. You know, they're a happy, good couple. And here it's like, oh, this isn't good. This is a little wishy-washy right now.
Yeah.
But once the demolition derby happens, of course, Ron Howard outsmarts him. And I kind of love afterwards kind of the thoughts and everything, because everybody ends up together, all of our side characters finally, and we get to see the other side, or some side of God, why Collins? You get to see another side of Collins where he's talking to his mom, and they're like, "Oh, I love you," and then she's like, "Hey, you know, she isn't worth it. She's socially inept. Their whole family's socially inept. I believe that's what they said. They're just crapping all over their family.
Yeah, or like low class or something like that. And then finally her father starts coming around. She's like, it's like, well, maybe, I forget what he said. He comments on Marion Ross's ass at some point. And
yeah, she's like, oh, you're an ass. And he's like, well, you don't have one. I was like, oh, wow, that's a pretty awful comeback, honestly.
Yeah. So, but it all works out. They get married in the end, but it's still funny though, is because the DJ Curly Q, he every time, like, I guess, mentioning this couple and their getaway was getting him big ratings, so he's following them all the time. And so even after they get wed, he starts chasing them in their wedding car, and he's like, I'm going to follow them to the bedroom. Let's see if their climax matches the climax.
I thought that was so good. Also, is it just me, or does this DJ look kind of like a ghoul in this last scene? They like put like heavy white makeup on him. He looks kind of weird. I don't know what it is.
But I didn't notice that.
Yeah, I don't know. But I do think this part is funny because he's wearing a helmet and they outrun him. And he crashes through a home. That's like the big final step, or the stunt. He just drives right through the home, and it's like weird because it goes in slow motion, the fast motion, but he's talking the whole time, and he's like,
that was my favorite part. That was the funniest part of the whole movie.
Yeah, he's like, oh, there's a phone off the ringer. Well, I wonder if they were gonna call me.
He's like, ladies and gentlemen, I'm driving through a fabulous living room right now.
It's so silly.
It's like, the phone is off the hook. I wonder if that one was for the me.
Yeah, no, I think that was a pretty solid way to end the movie. Not with our main couple's divorce, which will happen in Grand Theft Auto 2.
Yeah, Grand Theft Auto litigation.
Yeah, just the courtroom trauma. But I think that wraps it up. That's that whole movie in a nutshell. I mean, unless you have anything else to add.
For me, I didn't like it as much as Eat My Dust, but for me, it's like almost on par with it. But to me, it's a fun little ride. I mean, it's something, you get there's something in there that kept me entertained for the runtime. It's not like an overly long movie or anything. So for me, I would give it a very low recommend.
Yeah, I like this better than I did Eat My Dust. I do think this at least had some side characters I liked, and the more we talked about it, the more I realized, you know what, I did enjoy parts of this. As a whole, though, for me, I guess I just wasn't really into our main characters, and I guess that didn't get me really motivated for the movie. So Ryan, in a rare disagreement, I don't really recommend this movie.
Oh man.
It's a low not recommend?
Yeah, so
yeah,
you're very tepid to it.
Yeah. But yeah, I think that wraps it up for Grand Theft Auto. But Ryan, what are we gonna be covering on Thursday?
Well, Nathan, we're not going to get out of the car just yet because we're taking this car to Tijuana.
To TJ? No way.
We're bringing somebody with us. We're bringing Tom Cruise.
Whoa, we got an A-list celebrity on this show?
I know. Can you believe it? But anyway, we're going to be talking about 1983's Losing It, and the entire movie is for free on YouTube right now.
All right. Well, I'm excited for that. If you enjoy the show, email us over at driveindoublefeaturepodcast@gmail.com. You can also tweet at us at DIDFpod. And all those links are in the description. But until next time.
Until next time.